that she got hurt and that she was in the hospital. I tried to contact her to let her know that I was sorry and that I couldn't believe it even happened. And I had no idea until I was contacted 2 weeks later.
Right. So that's what concerns me, that you run somebody over and you don't even know it. What kind of condition were you in?
Well, I didn't run her over. She was trying to get back into my car, and I drove away. So, and that's how the injury happened. I didn't run her over.
I don't think you get all of the. Do you know? Are you aware of all of her injuries? It's not from falling onto the ground.
Yes, I am aware.
Okay, so her back was broken ribs, a punctured lungs, bleeding liver, cuts to the back of her head, a broken ankle. You don't get all that from falling.
We are about to watch a couple of Connecticut parole hearings. We're going to start with this one first, and then we are going to unpack it. As you can see, she's in street clothes, and that's because she's already at her halfway house. With that, let's jump.
Good morning, my name is Parole Officer Boyce, and today is Friday, March 15, 2024. This is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. Following board members are present this morning by stating their names on the record. Certified and reviewed all statutorily required documents and available for information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini. Panel member Page. Good morning.
Panel member Rodriguez. Good morning.
If you could please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Heather Mitchell, 392-684.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Heather Mitchell, inmate number 392-684. She is serving a sentence of 10 years, suspended after 5 years, 3 years probation for assault second and evaded. As of today, record reflect parole eligibility of March 20th, 2024. There is no victim input in the case. There is an offender accountability plan and has been reviewed, shows the offenders to be tier 2 and tier 4. Utilizing the women's risk needs assessment, the offender's overall score for recidiving falls within the medium range. Ms. Mitchell, this is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I am writing to express my sincere hope for your understanding and consideration regarding my parole request. During my time of incarceration, I have dedicated myself to self-improvement and rehabilitation, engaging in educational programs and vocational training. I've sought every opportunity to better myself and prepare for successful reintegration into society. As I was incarcerated, I was able to do most of my time in the Maryland Bay Acre program and was able to complete. Currently, through participation in counseling and support groups, I've gained valuable insights into the root causes of my past actions and have developed strategies and coping skills to ensure that they are not repeated. I am currently involved in groups in the liberation program as well as taking my prescribed meds. The journey of reflection and growth has been challenging, yet it has instilled in me a genuine commitment to becoming a responsible and law-abiding citizen. I understand the gravity of my past mistakes and the impact that they have had on others. It is my desire to take accountability for my actions and contribute positively to the community upon release. I am ready to embrace the support and structure that the parole provides, recognizing it as an opportunity for a fresh start. I humbly request the parole board's favorable consideration of my case, considering my dedication to my rehabilitation and the steps I've taken to ensure a good future. I am committed to proving myself deserving of a second chance. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, Ms. Mitchell, thank you for your statement. We do have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
Sure.
All right, let's see if I can get this thing working. Ms. Mitchell, this was a very serious case. You're lucky your victim survived, to be honest. When I read about the injuries, I just couldn't believe that you could leave someone in the street in that condition. Let's let's talk about the state you were in at the time of your offense.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry.
Why don't you tell us?
Okay. You want me to tell you what happened, or do you want me to tell you? Because
Sure.
I had no idea that she got hurt until 2 weeks later. We were both getting high and drinking alcohol. So I got a phone call from a mutual friend that said that she got hurt and that she was in the hospital. I tried to contact her to let her know that I was sorry and that I couldn't believe it even happened. And I had no idea until I was contacted 2 weeks later.
Right. So that's what concerns me, that you run somebody over and you don't even know it. What kind of condition were you in?
Well, I didn't run her over. She was trying to get back into my car, and I drove away. So, and that's how the injury happened. I didn't run her over.
I don't think you get all of the, do you know, are you aware of all of her injuries? It's not from falling onto the ground.
Yes, I am aware.
Okay, so her back was broken ribs, a punctured lungs, bleeding liver, cuts to the back of her head, a broken ankle. You don't get all that from falling.
She was attacked. She, I guess, was attached to my car as I drove away.
So you were dragging her with your car.
Yes,
What do you mean she was attached to your car? We don't attach ourselves to cars, ma'am. Huh.
Okay.
Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
You just said you want to take full accountability. You're the cause of these injuries, right? So why were you driving away with your friend trying to get in the car?
Because she was hit. We got into an argument while I was driving. She started hitting me. So I pulled over and I told her to get out. And she went to get out, and I went to pull off. And I had no idea that she was trying to get back into the car as I drove away.
What were you guys arguing about?
Drugs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. That's the real issue here.
Right.
The drugs.
Absolutely.
If not for all the drugs, none of this would have happened. Yeah. Your drug score is 5. That's the highest we have. Right?
I'm sorry?
Your drug score is a 5, and that's the highest level we have.
Right.
You had a serious drug problem. So let's talk about how you've addressed that and how you'll address it in the future. I understand you were removed from the Tier 4 program in 22, so they let you back in and let you participate again?
Yes, they did.
Why were you removed?
I started acting out because my son committed suicide while I was there.
I'm sorry for your loss. That's awful. What do you mean by acting out?
I just started being a little defiant, and so she removed me because she didn't want it to escalate.
Okay. All right. So then they let you back into the program. You completed the program. Yep. What tools did you learn through programming in the facility that will help you when you get out to the community?
Well, I learned a lot about my triggers and relapse prevention and just being able to be in a supportive environment. And so I've been clean now for over 4 years, and I have no desire to use because I don't want to live like this, and I do not want to go back to jail. And the only time I go back to jail is when I'm using drugs. So if I don't use, I won't go back to jail.
Okay. So you were on probation at the time of your offense. Were you involved in treatment then?
Yes, off and on. They kept giving me a lot of chances, and I would go to treatment, and then after I completed, I would go and use again.
Okay. You have another child that you don't speak to. Why is that, ma'am?
Because I overdosed with her in my care when she was an infant. So she went to go live with her father, and I had contact with her for a few years, and then I kept relapsing. So they didn't want me around her. So I honestly just, her father, went on and got married,
Okay.
and she thinks that's her mother.
Okay. All right. So were your parental rights terminated?
No, they were not.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, you certainly have had a rough go at it. I'm happy to see that you're in treatment now. You have a CCAR coach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're accepting the help that you really do need. I think there's still work to be done. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had some difficulty, given that all of this is drug related, with your incident report from just last week. You knew you were coming to parole, right? Why are you saving your meds to give to someone else?
Because I was being stupid, and I ended up coming. That day I called the doctor. I was coming off of that specific med because I didn't want to be on it anymore. So I'm no longer on it, and I was in the process of coming off of it.
Okay, I don't think you answered my question. Did you understand my question?
Yes,
Being
I did.
stupid is not really an explanation. You were saving your medication to give it to someone else. Why would you do that?
Because I am a people pleaser, and I can't say no to people. I have a hard time, and I need to work on saying no to people because it gets me where I get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's a major issue, and it's very concerning. And there was another report again this month stating that you have a really bad attitude, that you can't get along with the staff or your roommates, or what's going on?
Really? Oh, I had no idea about that. The only incident reports that I knew about was for vapes, bringing.
No, this
vapes
was in your progress report from the halfway house. Wait, what did you just say? Vapes?
Yeah,
Right.
Right. Yeah, bringing a vape in. Yes.
Yeah. So you don't think that you have a negative attitude, and you haven't had any problems with staff or roommates?
When I first got here, yes, I did. Absolutely. But recently I've been working, and I'm really not around here that much. I work and I do my groups, and
That progress report was from March 4th. Today's March 15th.
wow, okay.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. Keep working on yourself.
Yeah, I had no, that's a surprise to me, because I had no idea what they're like. I have no idea what they're talking about with that. No, I mean, I've had problems with staff. That staff member is no longer working here. And I mean, I don't remember having a bad attitude. I remember having a bad attitude a few months ago, and having a problem with people.
Well, why is that? Why?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like, I don't know. I think because I have to keep reminding myself that there's rules to follow,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is, and that's just the way
And
it
that's
goes
life.
here
That's not
in
just a
life.
halfway house.
Yeah.
That's life. I have to follow
No,
rules.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. All right. Well, like you said, it's a work in progress. You have to keep working on yourself. Now, I read somewhere you wanted to live with an aunt. You didn't have a phone number, an address. What is your plan?
No, I can't. I cannot go to my aunt's house because she's on she lives in a older community.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I didn't have my phone on me, so I don't know her address by heart.
Got it.
Her
Okay.
phone number, because I have it in my phone.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, you're done. It looks like the end of July, maybe. with this sentence, and then you're gonna go on to 3 years of probation. You really need to take advantage of every resource they have available for you. They're not the enemy. It's their job to help you. That's their sole purpose. So get whatever you can out of it in the 3 years that you're with them, because it'll go by fast, and then you're going to be on your own, you know? So you have to build the supports and networks and do the programs that you can. And hopefully you'll be successful. We want that for you. Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You asked a lot of my questions, but I just want to share with Ms. Mitchell, you seem to be doing, better, but you really seem to be struggling in some areas still. I was concerned about your surround people pleasing. Right now you're kind of in a structured kind of environment. When you're out on your own, that would be a really, significant concern for me. I hope you see that as one of your triggers.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a critical issue. And of course, the most recent misconduct report, really struck me. I'm still saying that I still think you need some more time to get some more help and to keep working on yourself. So anyway, at this moment, Madam Chair, I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you.
Anyway, good luck to you.
Ms. Page?
Thank you.
There. So, Ms. Mitchell, I've reviewed your cases from the first time that you were actually led to one of the halfway houses back in 2015. And you overdosed in the halfway house, and they had to administer 4 cans of Narcan to get you to come back to life. They said you were dead. And that's what they had to do to bring you back. And you're still using drugs? Do you want to die?
No, I don't. That's why I've been staying clean and doing
Well,
what I
I beg to differ with that as well, because I see from October 2023 to just July, you had 6 positive urines.
When?
It says you have 6 positive urines.
No,
And
I've had no positive urines. None at all.
None?
These are positive Suboxone she was taking.
None.
It's
I think she was taking some. Yeah,
according to the,
that's what I thought.
hold on.
No,
That's what I
had not one.
in your progress report, it says that you were positive 6 times. And maybe
No,
it was because of the medication that you're taking for your mental
Never had
health.
a positive urine. Never. When was this?
I'll tell you, give me a second.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I think, again, it may be from the meds that they're taking, the preventative meds. No, you're not taking medication daily?
Yes, I take medication, yes. But I've never been told that I've had a positive urine. Never.
Okay. So when I saw that, and I saw the March 8th, you hiding the meds, and the report said that you were possibly going to crush it and snort it. Now you're saying that you were saving it for someone asked you to do that?
Yes, someone asked me to
that.
do that, yes.
Wow. All right, I'm still looking it up. Give me a minute.
Okay.
It's taking my computer forever.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says this on page 3 of 7.
Yeah.
It says from October 24, 2023 to 1/31/24, 6 positives. Substance abuse test summary, 6 positives.
I've never been told I've had a positive urine
It's
at
from
all.
it, but are you doing Suboxone?
I'm on Sublocade.
That would do.
And it says you have a THC card. Okay. So that's where it came from. Okay. All right. Because it doesn't,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. All right. So then I stand corrected. And that regimen that you're on, is it helping?
Yes, absolutely. The Sublocade has been the best thing I've ever I ever started.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Thank you. I'm all set, Madam Chair.
All right, we're done with our questioning. Give us some time to deliberate. You can listen to us, okay? And we'll get back to you with our decision. So Ms.
Okay.
Mitchell, it certainly does appear that she's motivated to participate in her own treatment, and she's on the right path. We all agree, there's still work to be done here. She has to work on not being a people pleaser, because it'll get her, now she knows it'll get herself into trouble, and it's really not worth it. She has a recovery coach. She has her regimen in place designed to help her, and she's working at the coffee place. Yeah. So she's on the right path. Think she needs the support, and I hope she takes advantage of her probation and the resources that she has in place now to keep her on the straight and narrow, because, with a drug score of 5 and the drugs that she was doing, and the level she was doing them at, she's lucky to be alive too. This is tragic. Given that she's done with her sentence in a few months, and right now she needs the halfway house anyway. And the recent incident report, I would not be inclined to grant her parole release at this time, but I would encourage her to keep working through it, and hopefully we don't see her back here again. Mr. Rodriguez? Your thoughts?
I would concur, Madam Chair, that I think she still needs to do some work, especially with this last incident that occurred. So I would also concur, but I am not ready to also.
Thank you. Ms. Page?
I agree, Madam Chair. I came in with a denial based on inadequate evidence of offender change, her poor performance out in the community.
Yeah.
So
I would add.
her criminal history and the nature of circumstance of the offense are a little more.
Yeah.
I think as well.
All right. In the matter of Heather Mitchell, inmate number 392684, I'll make a motion to deny parole at this time due to the nature and circumstance of your offenses, poor history of community release. And did you say criminal history or well information?
No.
No.
What you said is
Either?
fine.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Mitchell, we couldn't grant you parole, but you're almost done. So hang in there, keep working on yourself. When you get out to probation, take advantage of that time as well, okay? We certainly hope you learn from all of this. We wish you the best.
All right.
He can't make this stuff up. I mean, if Mr. Marabella would see this, he would have an aneurysm. It's really bizarre. I mean, I'm not like, I'm whatever. Devil's lettuce for all. That's my mindset on it. But not when you're under DOC, not when you're locked up for what you claim is you ran your friend over because you were smoking and drinking. How is it someone that ODs in prison, that has a long record of intoxication problem, has a marijuana card? It's crazy. Come on, that's madness. It's like the system goes too far. I totally am for, and I think a lot of us are for making marijuana legal. But just because it's legal, it doesn't mean that you can get a medical card when you clearly have major problems with sobriety. It's like the lines just get crossed and there's no logic to it. Like, well, the moment it becomes medically applicable, then everything else goes aside. Forget, we can't say no. I mean, it's just it's a medical thing. So obviously, even if the person nearly killed their friend because they have sobriety problems, even though they OD, even though they're a 5 of a 5 on the charts, it's okay. I just can't get over that. And it's not the first time we've seen this. We saw a girl who was locked up for vehicular manslaughter, and she had a medical marijuana card. You're in prison for vehicular manslaughter, DUI. And while you're in a halfway house, you're legally here. So it's like, go here. And why, let me point this out, why I think this makes no sense. Like, I have to actually talk about this. This is bizarre. But, during Prohibition, you could get liquor from the pharmacy, right? Because it was considered medicinal. So you could get it if you got liquor, if you got from a doctor, either if it was a religious purpose or if it was for medicinal needs. So imagine if someone who has a DUI they're drinking because it's medicinal. It's the same insanity, okay? In my opinion. So the idea that a government system can't see this, but I think we can, is just absurd. It's absurd. It's wacky. Now, the parole board has no choice, right? They just have to go with the laws. And I think they handled this quite well, actually, especially in comparison to what we've seen before. I think they're quite bothered by her. There are so many things wrong with this hearing. She just seems so aloof. And I mean, I don't believe even much of all this. She's getting write-up. She got a write-up a week before the hearing. It's just crazy. She's at a halfway house. We're about to watch another parole hearing. It's really quite similar. Now, what's different about this parole hearing is that it's reversed. Reversed in the sense that we don't see the inmate, but don't worry, Richard gave enough unpacking material so that we'll be able to see the inmate, because her case made the news. So there's a lot of articles on it. But we're going to see just the parole board, really. So I think this is a good thing, because a good exercise, because you'll be able to now see the different personalities, put a picture to their name. But where do I even go with this? It's just like the nonchalantness of, well, I ran over a friend and I don't know how it happened. I was smoking and drinking. Oh yeah, I have a marijuana. And also the thing about Connecticut is that so many inmates are on Suboxone. So many. I mean, a vast majority. And again, I don't know much about that narcotic, but it's pretty crazy that I think it's, again, a follow the money thing and another scheme. There's pharmaceutical companies that are making probably bank on the prisons buying the Suboxone from them and keeping an inmate locked up. I mean, how does it make sense that an inmate who's supposed to be sober in prison, that you feel that you can't weed them off of the Suboxone? I get why putting them on in early stages if they have serious problems, but you're saying that you don't think the DOC facility has the capability to weed them off so you can send them back into society completely sober? That to me also is crazy. I mean, again, and that's follow the lobbyists, that's follow the money. It has to be. It's like the contract that this pharmaceutical company probably has with the DOC in Connecticut. And it's crazy. I mean, to go into the DOC and to be able to say that I've been sober for 7 years since I've been here, yet have a marijuana card and be on Suboxone and still somehow have overdoses and failed urines and all this stuff. It's just, it's crazy. I don't know if there's any other way to put it. But hey, I mean, we're just regular citizens, we're just the laymen. So what do we know, right? Anyways, she got a slap on the wrist sentence. I'll tell you that. Like what, 5 years, and that's how good her friend could have been killed so easily, and it would have been a different sentence. And just I guess luck of the draw, she wasn't. And she doesn't even get, I don't think, the DUI for it. It's just like because of the, it's just, anyways. So let's go into this next hearing, and then we got plenty to unpack with this one. So let's go.
Facebook post, because I saw on your record that you posted on Facebook that your baby, the victim, was really testing you, and you were proud of yourself for not sending that baby to bed bruised and bloody.
That was a joke. That's
a
was
joke?
a poor taste joke.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Boyce. For today is Friday, March 15th, 2024. This is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. Following board members present this morning, by stating their names on the record, certified they reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Morning, panel member Page.
Panel Member Rodriguez, good morning.
Can you please state
Good
your name?
morning.
Can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Rebekah Robinson, 409740.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of parole application for Rebekah Robinson, inmate number 409740. She's serving a sentence of 10 years with 10 years special parole for manslaughter second and risk of injury to a minor. As of today, records reflect parole eligibility date of December 21st, 2023. There is no victim input in the case. There has been a better accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows she has completed the following programs: Beyond Violence, Good Intentions, Bad Choices, Voices, Tier 4, Second Chance Pell, Anger Management, Parenting, and People Empowering People. Utilizing the Women's Risk Needs Assessment, one of the offender's overall score for a today falls in the moderate range. Ms. Robinson, this is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Well, I have been out for a year now, and I think that I've done well. I'm actually really proud of myself. My addiction is something that destroyed my life. It destroyed other people's lives. It took my child. That is something that I live with every day. My irresponsibility, my carelessness ruined many lives. But I've been given a second chance. And I plan to do something with my life with this chance. I have relationships to build. I have goals to meet. And I'm ready. I've been in therapy for the majority of the year that I've been out since I came to the halfway house here in New Haven back in June. I'm on Suboxone for maintenance. I have a firm grasp on my addiction right now. I've been clean for 9 years. I didn't get high when I was in jail, and I haven't gotten high since, because I am going to live my life for my child. I've worked really hard, and I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot, and I've learned lessons that I was too stubborn to learn growing up. Prison taught me how to be a woman with integrity and honor. And I can honestly say that I'm somebody that I'm proud of today. And I think that my daughter would be proud of me also. I hope that during this hearing, you will look at me as the person that I've grown into, the person that I've become. I'm not my biggest mistake. And I do have a lot to offer this world. And I hope that I'm given the opportunity to be granted parole so that I can start living my life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Robinson. We do have questions for you. When we're done with our questioning, we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Page.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Ms. Robinson, I appreciate your opening statement, and I understand that this is a very emotional time for you. This was a very unfortunate offense, you know, and I really do hope that the child that actually called 911 is able to recover from
Yes.
seeing this. What is your relationship with that child now?
I haven't spoken to my children in a few years. I talked to my children irregularly when I was in prison. Their father wouldn't put money on the phone, and my mother couldn't afford to put money on the phone for me to talk to them. So I only talked to them when they came over to her house occasionally. And it's been really hard on them. And after, I would say maybe 6 years, they stopped talking to me. And I haven't had contact with them since.
So how old was I'm assuming it was the 11-year-old that called 911?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old was the boy or girl?
Girl.
And how old was she at that time then?
The older child, or
Yes.
It was 2014, so she was 13.
So the 18-year-old is the one that called in?
No. The one that she's 23 now.
Okay. 23. Okay. So I'm sure that she remembers. So she was, you said 13 at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Wow. And so since then, you've gone on to have 2 other children?
I had the babies.
Okay. And were you in active addiction at that time?
Yes.
And the children weren't born addicted?
No.
Okay. And so currently they reside with their fathers?
Well, my oldest daughter she's 23. She's out on her own. My 18-year-old son is in college. My 23-year-old just graduated college. She's a school teacher now. And my youngest, I haven't seen him, or my family hasn't seen him since I lost custody. His father took him and we never saw him again.
Okay. So you have not had any contact with the father of the deceased child either?
No, he's the father of the baby and the deceased child.
Right. So let's talk about your description of what occurred with this offense. So according to the official documents, it says that this 2-year-old child had, if I'm not mistaken, either like 4 to 7 days worth of drugs in her system.
See, I don't understand that at all, because I only dropped a piece of that.
Old, okay. Okay, 4 to 7 days old. Okay, that's a real important word
in their system, right?
Yeah, that the way that they worded that was very confusing.
And because when you were interviewed by the officer, you said that it was only like a half of a tablet that she found and she took that.
Yeah, it wasn't even a half of a tablet. It was just like a sliver. I had cut it up into little pieces, and
I just don't see how that's possible, though. Because the official documents are saying that this child had access to those drugs frequently.
I had a closet in my room that was not locked, where I kept drugs, and that's what they had said, because it was not locked and the children could have access to it.
All right, let's move on from that now and talk about your behavior since you've been in the facility and out in the halfway house. You've taken a number of positive programs. I see that your last disciplinary infraction was in July of 2021. And I heard you also say that you've been clean and sober for 9 years. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you're currently working as a maintenance worker at your current job. And how long have you been there?
No, I'm not a maintenance worker. I work at a tea shop here in New Haven. I actually have a letter from my employer, but I didn't know how to submit it to you guys.
We do have verification of your employment there. Thank you.
They put it in for halfway house. So it was in there, but it said that the title of your job was maintenance. So I don't even know.
No, I'm actually a fulfillment manager.
So let's talk about your behavior in the halfway house now. It's my understanding that you struggle with complying. Is that fair to say?
You said crying?
With complying.
Oh, complying. No, I had a rough time when I was in Willimantic. That halfway house was very different than I anticipated, and I did my best to comply with the rules, but it was always something. For instance, when I came to that halfway house, they went through my belongings and gave them to me, and I had stamped envelopes that I had taken with me from prison, and I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to have them. They gave them to me, and then I got in trouble for having them. Like,
no,
it was little things like that.
Ms. Robinson, I'm going to stop you. I appreciate your explaining to us the difficulty that you had just transitioning, and you're not being familiar with the rules. I can appreciate, but I'm talking more so about your participation there in the halfway house, like your chores, the things that they've asked you to do that you like kind of were defiant. Can you talk about those things?
As far as my chores go, I make sure that my chores are done every day. I do my best to comply with the rules. I haven't gotten an infraction since I've been here in New Haven since June. I did have a rough time coming out and transitioning back into the community, and plus my medication was not right, and I had a rough time.
And so you received a couple misconducts that you refused to sign. Was that in your current halfway house or the older?
No. Yeah, that was in Willimantic, and I would like to actually address that because one of the two of the infractions were for a drug test that I can honestly say without a doubt was a false positive, because I have been clean and sober for 9 years, and my sobriety is very, very important to me. I was in the process of having it investigated, and then I got transferred here to New Haven. one of the things that I had done, that I had found in my research, was one of the medications that I was on, that class of medications had a tendency to provide false positives.
So,
And
okay, I appreciate that statement, and I know that you do have a medical marijuana card, and you know that you are prescribed certain medications. But,
yeah,
so I want to go back to your conduct. It says, and this report is from, it's as early as February 4th, 2024. So it says, Ms. Robinson continues to give staff a hard time about doing her chores. She's always giving staff an excuse as to why she can't do it. She feels, she said, it says that you were $200, you have a $200 balance for your rent. You've rendered a positive tox screen. You know,
well, I'm sorry, what was the last one?
that you rendered a positive tox screen.
Oh,
And that's
from,
what we were talking about that. You were just
from Will
explaining.
Romantic.
Data yet?
It's page 3 of the progress.
Yeah, okay, got it.
So that's what I'm talking about. Can you tell us what, you said that you were having a problem at the last halfway house, but now that you're in
Right.
this halfway house, what's going on that you cannot do your chores and comply with the rules?
One of the staff members in particular, I was having a hard time with. She's very confrontational. And we actually, I actually filed a grievance, and she was suspended because she was not treating me properly. And I had a really difficult time with her, and things like, I have legitimate health problems. I have rheumatoid arthritis and Sjogren's syndrome, and I work 10-hour days. And when I come home, sometimes I'm hurting, and I would ask to be excused from my chore. And that was always an issue. I asked about having a chore in the morning so that I can get it done before work. And they didn't listen.
Okay. All right. So you're already out in the community asking us for discretionary parole. What is that going to do for you? What will that allow
I'm
you
sorry.
to
What
do?
was,
You're
Oh,
you're already out and you're in a halfway house. I don't
Mhm.
see that you have a sponsor listed. What would discretionary parole give you?
well, honestly, I am ready to be on my own and to have my own space, to be able to be responsible. You know, that's one thing that I've learned, is that I thrive with routine, and I'm ready
You
to.
want to be out on your own, but you do know that you have 10 years of special parole to follow this sentence, and I don't see a sponsor
Yes,
list.
ma'am.
It says you still want to reside. Sorry. It says that you still want to reside in a halfway house. So I'm just curious.
Not a halfway house, a reach bed.
Isn't that the same thing?
No,
Apartment.
it's different. It's
Well,
my own apartment.
Hey,
If they're available, yeah, you supervise.
You're still supervised. You're still held to the same kind of standards that you have in a halfway house. You have to clean. You have to all that stuff. Like I don't
Mhm.
understand. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's certain things here that I'm limited to, as far as like furlough passes and being able to spend time with my family. My mother and my brothers and my stepfather, they live in Naugatuck, which is at least half hour, 45-minute drive. I'm only able to see them once a week on my furloughs. And like I said, I want to start rebuilding my relationships with my children. And
That helps me. That gives me a better understanding. Okay. Well, I do appreciate you speaking with me, Ms. Robinson, and I do wish you the best. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
Good morning,
you.
Ms. Robinson. I
Good
do
morning.
have some questions about the instant offense. Certainly, we're not here to retry the case, but so you knew that your child took a piece of your Suboxone, right?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you figure that out then?
I didn't find out what she had passed away from until the autopsy report came back.
So then how do you know that it was a small piece?
Because when I got the Suboxone, I cut it up into small pieces and I put it back into the foil. When I cut it up, the only thing that comes to mind is that I must have dropped a piece. And that's how she got it. And I didn't know that she was throwing up. And I assumed that it was a stomach bug.
Okay. So you were living with your mother and your brother at the time, right?
No, ma'am. I was living on my own with my children.
Okay. But so in our record, at some point, it said you were living with your mother and brother.
Yes, that was after she passed away.
Oh, after. I see. Okay. All right. But you had supports in place. Why didn't you ask for help if you needed help? I mean, obviously you're using drugs while you're trying to care for your children. Did you reach out for help?
Honestly, I did. And I had started to go to IOP. And I went to IOP because I was struggling with postpartum depression after my son. And I wanted to get it right. We had just moved back to Connecticut from North Carolina. And I was a single mother with 4 children, and 2 of them young babies. I had decided that I was going to stop going to pain management because I wanted to get off the pills. When I went to IOP, I met someone there who had Suboxone, and I had heard that Suboxone can be used to get off drugs. And I started to take it, and I realized that I didn't need a lot of it because I wasn't actively using drugs. And that's why I cut it up into little pieces.
Okay, but you're not a doctor. You're buying these drugs illegally when
Yes.
it's supposed to be, even for, curbing drug cravings or what have you. It's supposed to be prescribed for a reason. You know this. Everybody knows this.
Right.
So, there was, even if you're cutting it up, you have no idea what these effects, the drug effects have on your body because you're not a physician. You're not a professional. Let's talk about your Facebook post, because I saw on your record that you posted on Facebook that your baby, the victim, was really testing you, and you were proud of yourself for not sending that baby to bed bruised and bloody.
That was a joke. That's was
a joke?
A poor taste joke. I was kidding.
Were you feeling overwhelmed at the time?
I was very overwhelmed with 4 children, yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a pretty disturbing joke. You thought your sentence was harsh. You thought that the judge was harsh with you. What do you think an appropriate sentence is when you're responsible for the death of a toddler?
I think that there's no sentence that can ever make up for my actions. There's no amount of time that you can put me in jail for that would make up for it. I said that the judge was harsh because I found out after the fact that she had an adult child that passed away from an overdose. And I didn't think that she should have been residing on my case.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between you thinking that it's inappropriate for her to be presiding over your case and receiving a harsh sentence. Certainly, I would think that she was well within her means to hand down a 10-year sentence when a child died.
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you removed from the Worth program?
One of my mentees and I were arguing, and I threw a CD player at the wall, and it got blown up into this really big thing.
It got
I know
blown
what I
up.
did was
I mean, do
wrong.
you think that's a norm? It got blown up. Is that a normal reaction during an argument to throw the CD player at the wall?
No, what I mean by that is that they charged me with attempted assault when I never ever intended, I never would throw a CD player at somebody. I threw it at the wall. And
Well, regardless,
because
it's a
of that-
violent act, and you had taken the
Yes,
Beyond
ma'am.
Violence program.
And I was wrong, and they were right to remove me from the program because of that, because I was a mentor and I had a responsibility and I did not act accordingly. So they were right.
Yeah. Ms.
And-
Robinson, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I think there's still a lot of work to be done here. I think, you've done good programs. You did receive disciplinary reports. You're having some difficulty transitioning out of prison and to the community. That's what a halfway house is for. And I think there's still work to be done. I want you to be open to that work because you have 10 years of
Oh,
special parole.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in therapy for a reason. I'm not in therapy
Yeah.
just to make it look good. I'm in there because I still have work to do. I
Yeah.
did as much work as I could on myself when I was in jail, and that's why I took so many programs, because I wanted to get the most out of my experience there. If I had to be there, then I was going to come out of there and I was going to be stronger and I was going to be a better person.
Yeah. So why did you lose contact with your 3 children?
Well, like I said, the baby, none of my family have seen him since I lost custody, and my older kids, honestly, I don't know. They just stopped talking to me one day, and the best I can make of that is they didn't have therapy. Their dad didn't have them in therapy to work through any of this, and they didn't have anybody. And I think for them, it was easier to shut their mind off to me because it was too hard for them to process. And as much as that hurts, I have to say that they did the right thing, because they're awesome. Like, they're in college and college graduates, and
Yeah.
they did it. They did it.
When you say you lost custody of your youngest, do you mean that your parental rights were terminated?
No, ma'am. After the autopsy results came back and we found out what she had passed away from, they had an emergency meeting with DCF, and I gave the children to their fathers.
Okay, but people.
My rights were never terminated.
Okay, so people without custody of their children still have visitation rights, telephone rights.
Right.
I mean,
My family doesn't have money like that, and phone calls were expensive. Like I said, their father wouldn't put money on the phone, and I wrote them letters every other week. I made copies of these letters just in case they didn't get them. I tried very hard to keep the lines of communication open, and I just couldn't. It was too hard.
Yeah, very sad. It's a very sad situation for so many people. So many lives were destroyed. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Ms. Robinson, this is a very tragic event.
Yeah.
I would concur with the chair that you've taken a lot of programming, although I still think that you're struggling with utilizing some of the skills that that you were able to, probably get from these programs, and probably could still use some significant work. And it's good to see that you are continuing your therapy. I think that's probably an important thing in your life at this particular point. And a lot of questions have already been asked and answered, and a lot of them are some of the questions that I wanted to ask as well. So I don't really have any questions at this particular point, but I do think that you've got a lot to struggle with still, and that you're thinking around staying in your therapy is very important. And I would keep doing that.
Yeah, I think mental health is extremely important. And had I realized a long time ago that I need to be on medication because it balances me, I'm a completely different person when I'm on the proper medication, when I'm taking care of my mental health, because I believe that mental health and addiction go hand in hand. And if you're not taking care of your mental health, then your addiction is not being managed.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, Ms. Robinson, we're going to deliberate about your case. You can listen to our deliberation and we'll give you our decision shortly.
Okay.
Ms. Page?
Okay, thank you.
So, we've all said that the nature of this crime is very, very serious. And it's obvious that Ms. Robinson has really been trying to work on herself and that she's still struggling. I mean, it sounds like she has a lot of guilt associated with this offense and in her actions or her inactions. But she's trying to work through that. Nonetheless, she still seems to really be struggling with just being compliant, though. And I understand her desire to want to do what she wants to do, but she has a lot of supervision to follow her sentence. And if she doesn't really change her way of thinking, she's going to be in for a long haul. So, based on the nature of this offense and her non-compliance in the in the halfway house, I just don't think that she's a suitable candidate at this time. She's already in the community, and I hope that she continues to get the help that she needs. But I would not support her request for discretionary parole.
Thank you. Yeah, we're less than 3 months away from her end of sentence, and then she'll begin 10 years of special parole. So she will have the supervision and support. But I agree, given the nature and circumstance of this offense and her poor overall adjustment,
Yes.
I would not be willing to grant parole either. Mr. Rodriguez?
I would concur.
Okay.
Colleagues, based on the nature of
Okay.
that current event.
So for special parole, I have no contact with minors without permission, no alcohol consumption, mental health treatment and meds in a halfway house.
Yes.
Anything else?
I also I have victims, but again, they're not. You're not Yeah, there were a few names that they reached.
I mean,
but
we could, I guess, DS without the parole officer's permission.
okay,
Does that make sense? All right. In the matter of Rebekah Robinson, inmate number 409740, I'll make a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstance of your instant offenses and your poor institutional adjustment. You have 10 years of special parole to follow your sentence. Your conditions will include no contact with minors without your parole officer's permission, no consumption of alcoholic beverages, mental health treatment and medication compliance, halfway house placement if needed, and no contact with the family member of the victim, initials DS, without your parole officer's permission. Is there anything else? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you understand, Ms. Robinson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We wish you the best. Keep working on yourself.
Thank you.
Where does one even start? Where does one even start with this kind of hearing? There are so many points that I have marked down. I really, I'm at a loss. There's information that I'm going to unpack that we're just going to share that's really going to paint the picture that if you haven't heard it already from this hearing, it's going to maybe cement it for you. There are so many things wrong with this. Maybe to start with the idea that she actually can come off and say, I've been clean since I've been in prison all these years. And she's on Suboxone and she's on her marijuana card. And the idea that it was Suboxone that killed her daughter, and she, in her opening remarks, say, I'm clean, I'm on Suboxone. How is it possible? And this is something that is very wrong with the Connecticut system that is so broken. The idea that inmates are put on Suboxone, and I understand if you're coming off an addiction to wean someone off of it, but that you will stay on it for the full term of nearly a decade-long prison sentence so that you, when you come out into the public, you still have to rely on it, that's insane. And again, it's just another case of follow the dollar, follow the lobbyists, follow the farm. I mean, any knows it. It's insane. It's insane that you can be in prison and be on marijuana with the marijuana card. It's pure insanity. Did you pick up on the? I had to listen to this hearing a few times, but you know what I realized? She never once mentioned her daughter's name. She called her child. She called her the baby. She never once mentioned any of her children's names. She even went as far as to say that her older brother, because she was the baby, that her older brother was the baby of the family, that she was gone. You know what else she did? It took less than 24 hours, even less than that. It was only the next day after she had passed that she put a GoFundMe up that raised over $4,000. She had, that was all that was on her mind. She had not even 24 hours. She had a GoFundMe up. You know, the parole board, I thought they handled it well, but in a sense, they really didn't. When you have the information that I'm going to read to you, this made the news. This made the news because CPS failed this little girl. CPS failed her. Her name is London, but we wouldn't know that because her mother never mentioned it. Because CPS was called over and over and over again. There were neighbors that saw London with bruises. They had called the police. The police came and gave reports of a home that was uninhabitable. When CPS came, they said, not a big deal. And we're talking about just a week before this happened. You know what else they found in London's system? They found more than just Suboxone. They found other pills. They said, and they found in her hair follicle that she had been on it for at least a week up until the time that she passed away. And they don't mention any of that here in this hearing. And she's like, oh, I cut it up. Oh, I cut it up and it was a small pieces. I don't know what. And maybe you picked it up in the hearing too, how her older sister found her. She didn't call the police. No, her daughter, her 13-year-old daughter called the police when she found her baby sister unconscious. She was throwing up. And this sorry excuse of a mother, shouldn't give her the credit of that title. Just said, oh, I thought it was a stomach bug. And who knows what she would have done if her daughter didn't call. She would have, you know, who knows? It would have been one of those stories of a baby gone missing type thing. Thank God her kids don't talk to her. How dare she even try to take credit for them being in college? It's just such a, you know, there are certain people that are just evil. But what makes this hearing, it's hard to like unpack it, is just the brokenness of the system from A to Z. And I'll unpack the CPS stuff because it will just, but the idea again that you can go into prison, get this sweetheart deal when she should never have gotten it, in my opinion. And then to somehow be on Suboxone, the very drug that you were taking that killed your daughter. Can you imagine? Just think about that. the drug that you were illegally taking that took your daughter's life, you will then willingly get on it, stay on it, and use that as part of your parole reason for getting out speech and call yourself sober? But the system actually allows that to happen. You know, the Connecticut is broken with this stuff. We saw a young woman, a young lady, who took a life in a DUI, and they had her on a marijuana card also. And it's like, just because a state considers something to be medicinal, it doesn't mean that anyone should be able to get it. The idea that there's no simple way of blocking someone from on it in the state of Connecticut is absurdity. I mean, Mr. Mirabella would have an aneurysm listening to these parole hearings. And I don't, you know, during Prohibition, like I think I said this before, you could get liquor from the pharmacy. So are you telling me that since you can get liquor from the pharmacy in Prohibition, that if you had a DUI, even though they probably didn't have that term phrase yet then, but still, I think that this analogy is applicable, you'd be able to say, oh, well, yeah, it's here's your DUI, but here's your medical liquor thing. You can go and get, you know, your liquor from the pharmacy. I mean, we would say that's insane. How is it any different now? The very narcotic that caused you to take, and you're on it now by the system, and you're getting, I just can't. But follow the money. It is pharmaceutical lobbyists. I have no doubt about it. Now let's go read this report that's disturbing. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. Really, I don't. A scathing 34-page report by child advocate Sarah Egan released Tuesday morning. Let me just make sure I don't go through the address here. I always need to check to make sure they don't list an address, even though it's an old address. Okay, just bear with me, because this report is nightmarish, and how the whole system failed London. A scathing 34-page report by child advocate, and I love this child advocate. Like, you know, it's bad when DCF does such a bad job that you need a third independent child advocate. I would love to talk to Sarah. Released Tuesday morning, not only indicts the way that the Department of Children and Family dealt with London's mother, Rebekah Robinson, but raises questions about DCF's ability to accurately gauge and risk presented by any of the thousands of troubled parents, caregivers it encounters each year. And just wait till we get to the end of this report, by the way, with how many deaths fall under their immediate guidance. It's scary. The number is very scary. Robinson, 32, was arrested in June and charged with manslaughter and multiple counts of risk of injury to a minor in London's October 2014 death. Her case is pending in Superior Court in New Britain, and she pleaded not guilty. Of course, you know, she took a deal. DCF Commissioner Joette Katz Tuesday said that it was an isolated case with a tragic outcome that is rare among DCF's tens of thousands of cases. And it's not isolated, and it's not rare. We're going to see if the idea that you can say that there's something like 40 child deaths a year, and that's isolated and rare and okay, that's insane. It's insane. But that's what it comes out to. But Robinson's case was replete with red flags that should have triggered a much swifter response by DCF. Being reported, a dozen DCF caseworkers and supervisors were involved in Robinson's case in 2013 and 2014. Robinson, a single mother of 4 children, was the subject of a series of welfare complaints in Connecticut and in North Carolina, where she lived for about 4 years before returning here in January. 2 complaints had been lodged against Robinson in Connecticut in 2007 and 2008, involving alleged neglect of her 2 older children, then in North Carolina. Police and child protective authorities received 3 complaints against his mother, including alleged child neglect and deplorable conditions inside her home. Robinson moved back to Connecticut after an adult died of a drug overdose in her home. Right. Remember that? This is not the first person to die in her home. No, she moved from Connecticut after another adult, maybe a loved one, died in her home. Maybe it was her boyfriend. Oh no, someone died. Let me move to Connecticut. Do you get it? This is the second person to have died in her home. From early 2013 until London's death, the Connecticut DCF logged 5 additional complaints against the mother. Each instance was a chance for DCF to reassess its classification of Robinson's household as safe, but the department never did. The state's Child Fatality Review Board in April directed her and her staff to investigate and make a recommendation for change. The entire child welfare response system depends on accurate and reliable safety and risk assessment of the family. Here, information was available prior to London's death that should have resulted in a risk score of high. We all know about those risk scores, thereby triggering a child protective service response and continued supervision and condition in the home. The erroneous assessment here jeopardized the safety of the child, she said. I love this child advocate. She should be on the parole board. In fact, it was not until after London's overdose death that DCF asked for the family's child welfare records from North Carolina. So this is how thorough they are, right? They never even ask for the records from another state in which she left. And her mental health records from Bristol Counseling Center. Despite DCF policies requiring social workers to request those records in the normal course of a child welfare investigation. So it is part of their policy, but they didn't do it. And look, I get it. DCF is probably one of the most difficult, thankless, painful jobs one can have in social work or in general. I get it. And the whole system's broken, and these poor workers are just, get taken to the point where this can happen. But at the same time, it's like, don't do the job, It's like, just don't do it. Have the courage to transfer somewhere or something. If you stop caring about protecting a child because you're so burnt out, it's your obligation to change what you do. The department never changed its designation in the households. And I know that I'm blaming the foot soldier, the pawn in this situation, and maybe that's not fair. It should be a top-down punishment thing. But as we'll see, it's not the top that gets punished, of course. The department never changed its designation of the household as safe despite a string of complaints. So they kept the house as safe the entire time, despite a string of complaints about Robinson's parenting, missed mental health appointments, an allegation of physical neglect of London, 2 arrests of Robinson for shoplifting, an episode of domestic violence, and most notably in September 2014, report by Plymouth Police a month before the toddler's death that a neighbor had told officer that Robinson had severely beaten the child. That Facebook post that she made, that was the joke. She laughed about it. Sociopath, psychopath, monster. All those terms come to mind, and they're probably all accurate. In a call to the child abuse hotline, Plymouth police officers have reported seeing bruises on a sleeping London's. There are some people that the drugs take them to such a low, depraved level. But in this case, I don't think that's even it. I think she's just an evil person. Robinson and her 2 older children denied that Robinson had beaten London. Robinson was raising the 4 children aged 13, 9, 2, and 1. So I guess she did have a younger sibling. I was wrong. You notice she never mentioned any of the children's names. I don't recall her mentioning any of them. The Plymouth police officers reported seeing bruises. So they go there. So someone reports that they saw a 2-year-old being beaten by their mother. The police show up and see a baby with bruises. But because the 13-year-old and 9-year-old said that she wasn't beaten, that was it. That was okay. But the police, they told the DCF that the neighbor had reported seeing Robinson drag her infant child around by the arms. Police said that the neighbors told the officers that Robinson said she'd beaten the blank out of them. The neighbor said that the thought of Robinson being alone with the children made the neighbor sick. Yet the DCF caseworker staffing the state Maine Abuse Hotline did not accept a report for further investigation. Oh no, that's not good. I mean, police showing up and saying they saw bruises, neighbors stating it, a long track record of abuse. No, we're not going to accept this. It's even though DCF had an open case on the family, as if he needed it, even though. Because you got to think about that. Someone took that phone call and said, I'm not going to make excuses for someone who does that. You might be burnt out or whatever, but if you can get to that point, you have the responsibility to remove yourself from taking that phone call, from ever taking a phone call like that. Because DCF had since 2013 deemed Robinson's household to be safe and the risk of the children moderate. Can you imagine? Oh, there's only moderate risk. The case had been referred to a private nonprofit agency to offer counseling and support to Robinson. Here's another, by the way, if you want to see where money gets kicked around, a private non-for-profit, they get referred to. This is like just it's just another scheme like the Parole Project. All money-making schemes. It sounds great in nature, right? That's what they're referred to, a non-for-profit agency for counseling, right? They're going to give counseling. DCF chose this track reserved for parents who are troubled, but who are deemed not likely to harm their children, rather than to investigate Robinson as an unfit mother and possibly remove the children from the home. However, that choice must be based on a thorough, accurate risk assessment. And Egan said that wasn't the case here. Egan and assistant child advocate Faith Voss Winkle found that Robinson did not comply with the program set up for her by the private agency, missing about half of the mental health counseling sessions. Yet the private agency never reported the noncompliance. Oh, I wonder why the private agency never reported the noncompliance to DCF. And DCF never inquired. Maybe because if they report it, they'll lose a paycheck, right? They don't want to get. I wonder, there should be an investigation. Did they bill her for not showing up? Are they allowed to bill her for not showing up? This is something that should be investigated. In early October, despite Robinson's failure to pursue mental health treatment, this is good investigative reporter stuff right here for anyone who wants to do that. In early October, despite Robinson's failure to pursue mental health treatment, DCF closed its case with Robinson's family. Case closed. We did a great job. One file off our desk. Less than 2 weeks later, on October 19, 2014, employment police again called DCF House Hotline to report a 911 call received that morning from London's 13-year-old sister that London had been found unresponsive. And this is what they were talking about. It was not mom who called. It was the 13-year-old girl, her daughter. She had to call. The police said the house was in deplorable condition and was state records show. London never recovered. The medical examiner ruled her death a homicide and said that she died of acute buprenorphine toxicity. The mother was taking buprenorphine, also known as Suboxone, to wean herself off opiates. London had also had oxycodone in her blood, another of her mother's prescription. You see, she had oxycodone. Egan said that at the very least, DCF could have opened a child welfare investigation after September 28, 2014 from the Plymouth Police report. Yes, at the very least, they could have. Instead, DCF's response was for casework from the regional office to visit the family 4 days after the police call. They waited 4 days. I'm sorry if I'm being broken here. You don't need to watch me vent about this, but 4 days? Allegation of abuse were denied. She's just a child. I know she's just a 2-year-old child. So what's the big deal? No investigation ensued, and the family's DCF case continued to be tracked for closure. Senator Leonard Fasano, Republican North Haven, said Tuesday that a system failure surrounds London's death and that the state has culpability. Fasano, the Republican minority leader, reiterated an earlier call for Katz to resign. Well, thank you, Senator. I hope you're not just doing that for a publicity stunt, and you actually mean it. I don't know what your legislation policies are and what your record is, but now the Katz, who runs Fasano has been highly critical of Katz and DCF. So Katz is the head of DCF. Since 3-year-old Athena Angels was beaten by her mother, beaten to death by her mother's live-in boyfriend in 2011. Athena's father is pressing a $20 million wrongful death against DCF. The department has been involved in the Athena case several weeks before Athena was killed, and caseworkers had noted bruises on the child. Both the mother and boyfriend were convicted in the wake of the death. So I wonder if we'll ever get their parole hearings. But there you go. DCF just a year earlier failed that child. In response to the Child Advocate report, Katz on Tuesday said she has replaced the supervisors who are running the local DCF office that handled Robinson's case, and the department has made a series of changes in its case practices and added safeguards to prevent a reoccurrence. Does she resign? No. Like we said, she replaces the supervisors. Were they fired? I highly doubt it. Were they put somewhere else where they can guarantee they won't harm another child? I highly doubt it. No, she goes. And why wouldn't have they been replaced a year ago where you're now facing a $20 million lawsuit? It's a joke. It's a joke. The men and women of the department deeply feel the loss for this young child, Katz said. Such tragedies are rare among tens of thousands of families and cases we serve, but nonetheless, we are always working to prevent these types of heartbreaking events occurring again and again. It's double talk. The Egan's office and their advocacy group in the state have long faulted DCF for failing to police itself more strictly, to evaluate its caseworkers more vigorously and consistently, and to routinely use nationally accepted quality control measures to find correct errors before they become tragedies. If this was a company and she was the CEO, I believe the board would have voted her out. But because it's not a company, because it's just children, she is allowed to just say, make I think, heartless statements like, oh, we deal with tons of cases. This is just a tragedy. London's death was a second child fatality last year, which DCF had not received the family's out-of-state child welfare records. So there you go. The second one that a child died, not the second one that a child died, period. No, there were many children. 36 children died that year, but it was 2 where they didn't ask for records. Egan said that the department must improve the way it assesses the risk of parents, caregivers pose to the children. In 2014, there were 36 unexpected and untimely deaths of infants and toddlers in Connecticut. 19 of those children lived in families that had the documented history maltreatment by concerned or entrusted caregivers. 10 of those had open cases of DCF at the time. How can you tell me in a 12-month period that, let's break it down, forget the 36, forget the 19 that had a documented history, but 10 had open cases. And it only took some outrage by the press for finally Katz to shift around the board a little bit. Oh, you'll go here and you'll go there. You supervisor, you'll be moved here. I love this child advocate. I'm gonna have to reach out to her. But there you go. I know I just went on a little bit for 24 minutes, but I just can't. I can't with this. It's such. It's the system. It's a mockery of the system. The whole thing is complete mockery. Mockery. Maximum sentence of 10 years, spending all this time out, all these like write-ups and intoxications and urines and, you know, not even following the rules. And she's going to get onto the street, whatever. What's the big deal? You really think that people are going to be safe? And it's like, who's going to stop her from going out and having another child? Or it's scary, but you might not believe it if you didn't see it. System's broken. That's part of why we do this. Thank you, dear Richard. By the time of this recording, I know he's going into surgery in the next few hours, and I'm wishing him the best. Hope all is well. Thoughts and prayers are with you. And with that, I'll let you go.